Well, good afternoon, everyone. I see a lot of picture on my screen. Unfortunately, I cannot see all 30 unless I want to switch the screen, but I'm not going to do that because I'm going to just go ahead give my meeting remarks. And Happy New Year, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michelle Wu, the president of Los Altos Silk Club, and lots of you already know me and know me well, and also know everything I did in the past 4 years. Welcome and thank you so much for attending our first club events in 2021. I know and I understand that you could have spent this time elsewhere, but you choose to come to our virtual meeting. I really appreciate your participation. In the past, we were able to gather at the elegant Fremont Hill Country Club dining hall to enjoy a sit-down luncheon. However, due to COVID-19, we transformed our luncheon gathering into this Zoom virtual event since last year, May. Given the vaccine is on its way, I'm hoping that we'll be able to gather in person sometime this year. So let's hope for the best. It is our club tradition that each year, the state of the town of Los Altos is presented by the current mayor, the city manager, and the staff, Santa Clara County Fire Chief and staff, and other people. The purpose of these events is to provide information to our club members and our guests to answer our questions like a fireside chat. It is an opportunity to interact directly with our town officials and understand the town operation with a closer look. And I really appreciate the town manager and the staff and the fire chief. They're all taking their busy schedule to come here and to share the information with the club. It is a truly honor that they could attend and give their information, their point of view to us. And this is not a political campaign of any sort, and nor does it serve as a political vehicle to achieve any goal or take any action against any town issues, fire issues. This is purely a social event, and it is information. It's just for information sharing and information gathering. So having said that, let me say, to get started, let me introduce our honored guest speakers, including our current mayor, Kavita Tanka, Santa Clara County Fire Chief, Tony Bowden, and City Manager Clark Cahill, and the staff. So the first person, our guest speaker is Mayor Kavita Tanka. And I've known Kavita for the past two years serving on the city council. She was elected in 2018 as a council member and serving as a vice mayor in 2019. Last year, when I was the mayor, she was the vice mayor, and we have worked together for lots of meeting agenda reviews and taking care of a lot of town's issues. So before that, Kavita has served as a planning commissioner for 6 years. So she knows our building process, building planning commission very well, has a lot of expert knowledge. So Mayor Tanka, would you like to give us some words and tell us what do you think and your remarks?
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy New Year. I particularly like saying it this year. It kind of reinforces that 2020 is really behind us. Some of you may know that I'm a longtime member of this club. In fact, in the early days, I used to help with registration check-ins at the Fremont Country Club luncheons for the club. So I'm actually fully aware of the role that this club has really played in the history of this town and the contributions of all its members. And I really just have to look at the collage of people that are attending this meeting. And therein lies, the heart and soul of this town, the very people who've built up this town and spent days making sure that it retains the rural look and feel and the culture that we were so proud of and wanted to make sure that we preserved when we founded this town. So thank you for that. And on a personal note, I'm just happy to be back among friends because I just happen to know everybody on the Zoom meeting. And that's why I loved, being involved in town politics because, I love being involved in town politics because, you know the people you work with and you can really make the changes that you want to see in this town. I'd like to start with a more positive note. It's interestingly, when this pandemic first started, we were concerned about what kind of financial impact our town might see. I'm really happy to report that as of now, we have not seen any impact at all. But most importantly, I really want to give a shout out to our town staff. They really come through for us. In fact, each one of them has showed up every single day for work since March and throughout the pandemic. And as a result, we have been able to keep our town hall open and operational through this entire pandemic, which is much more that you might see in any other city. So I'm so proud of the work of our town staff and the contribution that they have made in ensuring that we were able to deliver the same level of customer service that our town is really known for. So thank you for that, Carl, Deborah, Sarah, Cody, everybody listening, and I really do appreciate it. The other thing is, our staff was very adept in really adapting to the new protocols required of us from Santa Clara County. And this allowed us to move our planning desk actually outside of the courtyard. But by doing so, we were able to keep our planning and building services open. So residents were still able to get their permits, schedule inspections, and really complete their projects. Because you have to appreciate that given that a home is probably the biggest capital expenditure that a resident makes and their biggest asset, most people really leverage themselves when they build a home. And it really hurts them economically and fiscally when projects are delayed. So by doing this, our staff ensured that residents were able to continue their building process. And I have got innumerable emails from architects and residents telling me that they are so grateful for this service because in other parts of the county, their building process was shut down. So I want to make sure that I stress this because, I really felt that it was such a positive force to have in our town. I'd like to now move on to an issue that I know has all of us concerned, and that's the recent decisions that we know will be coming out of Sacramento. I know that legislation in Sacramento has the power to impact our zoning and the development on lots in our town. And on our part, we are really actively monitoring all the legislation that could potentially impact us. We've been watching Senate Bill 9 very closely. And in reality, it's just a hash of the previous bill that had us so concerned last year, Senate Bill 1120. The reason we are concerned about Senate Bill 9 is that if passed, this bill would allow duplexes and allow splits in our town lots. By right, it would just be ministerial. They would be able to do it. We are watching it very closely. We are participating in all the protest hearings. I know that Duffy Price has been leading these on behalf of our town, and I thank her for that effort. We really protect our 1 acre zoning, and we want to do all we can to make sure that we stay on top of any legislation that has a potential to impact us. and we will continue to monitor the situation and keep you all posted and have all of you write in and weigh in when we know that you have the power to impact elected officials when the decisions are being made in Sacramento. So we will keep you posted on that. Moving on, I'd like to give you an ADU update. In terms of ADUs, we recently updated our ADU ordinance in our town because we wanted to our new state regulations. As a result, ADU production has increased considerably in our town. In fact, it's interesting. It went from 4 ADU permits in 2018 to 11 in 2019, and then actually 24 in 2020, which is a huge, huge number from what we've seen in the past. I think we all recognize that the production of ADUs is really critical if the town is to meet its housing requirements. And on our part, we want to continue to allow and to help anybody who would like to build an ADU. We make it easy and we make it ministerial, and we encourage residents to build ADUs. For this upcoming cycle, for the 23-30 cycle, we noticed that the town's initial housing allocation numbers were really high. It was 545 units. That had us really concerned. But what we did was we mounted protests, hearings. We worked with other towns. We drafted a letter and had all the council members sign it. And we sent this letter off. And as a result, we were able to reduce our housing allocation by almost 10%. That said, we will continue to provide comments and push for more reasonable numbers, because we know how hard it is for us to continue the momentum and build the number of ADUs required of us. On interesting and a happier note, we've noticed that our town pathways and open spaces have been used more than ever before. And it's been fortunate that our residents had the opportunity to take advantage of our pathways and open spaces and explore them during the pandemic. So it kind of reinforces upon us the need to connect our town and make sure we continue to preserve and expand our pathway system, because it's something we are so proud of as a town, and we want to encourage and promote the use of pathways in our open spaces. We know that Western Barnes riding program and Prisma Park has been very popular this year, given the shelter in place. And although many of our programs really could not take place this year, it's interesting that our rec staff has really stepped in a big way. And I want to thank Sarah Robicelli for that, because they use their time to play a really what I feel is a key role in pushing out information regarding COVID, regarding wildfire protections, giving crime updates to our residents. And really, they played a huge role when it came to rallying our town's residents to oppose the consolidation efforts of the Los Altos Hills County Fire District. We've also noticed that they played a great role in COVID testing, and again, we thank them for that. Moving to an issue that really was huge in our town last year was the proposed consolidation of the Los Altos Hills Fire District by County Fire. We felt that we dodged a bullet recently when we averted the proposed consolidation. And now we actively monitor the last court proceedings and all proceedings of the Santa Clara Board of Supervisors. But in the meanwhile, we're committed to working with County Fire and making sure that we work together, because I feel that that's probably our best option in preserving our fire district and working as a community over an issue that's important to all of us. You know, the 2020 fire season really imperiled us as a town. I think it drove home the fact that fire is a very real threat to our town, maybe even more than the earthquake threat. And I think it really rang true for most of us when we realized that fire came as close as 5 miles to our town this past year. Um, in response, we as a town are now deeply focused on fire safety. And for me, I feel this is something that I will take very seriously this year. Um, we have tried to increase informational outreach to our residents, and we want to make sure that they know what they can do on their part to harden their homes and keep their homes safe. We've held wildfire forums to educate our residents regarding wildfire preparedness. And we're also looking to underground our utilities because, you know, it's most often it's PG&E poles that fall that start a lot of fires. So we're definitely committed to exploring that as an option in keeping our town safe. You may have noticed there was some recent conversations on Nextdoor about town safety. We too have noticed an uptick in burglaries in our town, especially in the last couple of months of 2020. And in response, we are looking to do all we can to keep our town and our residents safe. We have a crime prevention forum scheduled with our sheriff in the next couple of days. And we are looking to start a neighborhood watch program that has been so successful in other towns dealing with the same issue and reducing the level of crime. So for those of you who are listening in on this call and would like to participate in this neighborhood watch program, we'd love for you to participate at town staff and do your part in helping us. Over our own local fire district. We believe strongly that local control is critical for fire safety, and we would like to make sure that we keep our control over our fire district. We want to increase more town safety and monitor residential burglaries. And we want to do so by strengthening our partnership with our sheriff. We are also looking to do a town survey so that we can assess what our residents really want and what is a priority for them. And we're looking at ways to, determine the cost of undergrounding. But most importantly, we're looking to keep and for wildfires or for an increase in town safety. So with that, I'm happy to take questions unless the program requires Michelle to move on to another conversation.
Thank you, Kavita. That is a very, very good, thorough review of everything. I think, in fact, you probably answered some of the questions that we're going to have come on later. Before we move on to the question, let me go ahead. The program will allow me to introduce a couple more people. I want to introduce our fire chief, Tony Bowden. And let me just say a few words about Chief Bowden. Chief Bowden began his firefighter career with the Los Altos Hill Fire Department in 1996 and joined a county fire organization later the same year when the city of Los Altos and town of Los Altos Hill contracted with county fire for service. As fire chief, he is the Santa Clara County Fire Marshal and serves as the Cal OES Operational Area Fire and the Rescue Coordinator, responsible for all fire mutual aid in Santa Clara County. Chief Bowden's past assignments have included firefighting and engineer, paramedic, fire captain, safety officer, communication officer, training captain, battalion chief, deputy chief, and assistant chief. And Chief Bowden holds a bachelor degree in fire administration, and he is the state certified fire officer, chief officer, and fire instructor. I can see that Chief Bowden is very well qualified as a chief. Chief Bowden, would you like to say a few words to us?
Sure. I'll look for thumbs up if you can hear me okay.
I can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you. So I come live to you today remotely from the Santa Clara County Fairgrounds. Today, I hope to talk a little bit about some of the other things that County Fire does, not just wildfire. I think the last couple meetings that I've been to, and I just really miss the luncheon, by the way, and meeting people. But we've focused primarily on wildfire, but as you can tell today, being remotely, it's not all we do. We're all risk. And I'm very proud that our organization stepped up. We've committed a significant amount of our administrative staff to stand up a public safety vaccination site. And over the last 3 weeks, we've vaccinated first round over 90% of all the fire agencies in the county, all the ambulance providers in the county. We are working to move forward to our law enforcement partners in the county. And we're actually working with the county to stand up mobile vaccination clinics as well. And this is just the mission at hand, and quite frankly, one of the most important missions I think that our staff can be engaged in right now. While the vaccinations continue, we have not stopped work on the ever-going issue of wildfire safety. To that end, Santa Clara County Central Fire Protection District, and I know it gets confusing sometimes because we call ourselves County Fire, but we're actually a dependent district, just like the Los Altos Hills County Fire District. We have dedicated resources and are hiring a new position. The interviews are actually this week, and it's a battalion chief position assigned to wildfire resiliency to work within all of our communities on the ever-growing issue of wildfire protection in Santa Clara County. And I've just been really happy and pleased on how our department, our district, and the Los Altos Hills Fire District have worked together in the past and will continue to work in the future on providing the best level of service possible to the residents in Los Altos Hills. That is our primary mission. This is where, as you heard from Michelle's opening comments, this is where I started my career. I'm very blessed to have worked up in Los Altos Hills and in the city of Los Altos, and to be part of increasing the level of fire protection, all risk to the community of Los Altos Hills. So with that, I'll end it there because I'm sure there's more discussion and questions to be had down the road, and we can move on to our next speaker. So thank you for the opportunity to be here today, even though it's remotely.
Thank you, Chief Bowden. Yeah, we'll definitely have a question later on. Just a quick question. You are wearing a mask. Are you in a public place that require wear a mask, or you just want to wear a mask for demonstration?
So I'm actually in what we refer to as OES 5262. It's one of 6 incident support units that are in the state of California. County Fire has been selected by Cal OES to staff one of these units, and we are using it at the fairgrounds as our mobile office. And I'll try to turn, and you can see this is actually inside a mobile unit, and we have several large offices within this mobile unit that's drivable. And behind me, I have one of my staff who's working, which is why I'm wearing a mask inside this mobile unit. And very blessed because this event allows us to test that new technology that Michelle, you saw.
Yes, I attended your press release.
Yes.
I was very
so County Fires has the first 2 independent communication infrastructure units in the state of California that were a budget item by Assemblymember Evan Lowe. And these units allow us to do what I'm doing today, communicate and move data back and forth, regardless of where we're at, anywhere in the state of California. And those help benefit our communities as well. So kudos to our IT folks, they're killing it.
Yes, I was very, very impressed when I visit your press conference and saw the equipment. It is great. You're very advanced in technology, I can tell. Okay, so we are moving to our next speaker, or the guest. It's our city manager, Carl Cahill. And Carl has been working for this town of Los Altos at least 20 years, 20 some years. And he probably knows everything about this town, the history, every pathway issues and building issues, building code change. And also probably we have, since we have a rotation of a mayor, he probably worked with the 20 mayors as well. Some of them are repeated, but 20 times. So Carl, I know you very well, but why don't you go ahead and speak speak a few words and speak of your thoughts, share with us.
Okay. Well, thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate being here today at the Los Altos Hills Club annual function. I've appreciated the prior invites. I'm really missing the lunch. I had top ramen for lunch today, so it wasn't quite the same. And but it's good to see everyone. And I didn't have remarks prepared. I thought our newest mayor, Kavita Tonka, did an excellent job summarizing, the events that are, that we've tackled over the last year and that we have coming up. And, so we definitely see some challenges on the horizon. And yet I think we're in good shape to weather those challenges. And, we have staff here today. We have our planning director, Zach Dahl, who I can say we stole from Los Altos. We also, that's where we got our finance director. So happy about that. We have a full complement of staff at this time. That was definitely a problem for us. Prior to COVID, I would just say that with COVID, we've had some problems went away. We seem to be doing better on retaining staff right now. And, that's a good thing. I will say too, I've had the easiest commute ever the past 9 months. So there have been some good things, but I do know we're all, looking forward to, things returning to normal. It seemed like they were on that road, that things were getting back to normal and earlier than the fall. And now we're back in a, elevated status of, lockdown with more restrictions in place. I can say though that county health officer is continuing to allow new construction in town, new buildings. So that I think is awesome. If you are working from home or you're just at home a lot because it's so difficult to travel, it's nice to work on those, around the house projects. And so we're definitely seeing some, increase in building activity. And I also want to shout out to, two very loyal town employees. We have our city clerk, Deborah Padovan here, and Sarah Robustelli. And, they've been really, they've been with me for at least, I think, a decade at this point. So they've been really helpful. And so if I don't know the answer to something, they likely do. And of course, we know where we know where to look it up if we have to find something. So with that, Michelle, the staff's here, to try to answer questions to the best of our ability and, things like that.
Thank you, Carl. Yes, just to answer question, this is not a city council meeting, so don't worry. Whatever you want, and let us know. I am not going to dictate any votes or any action taken, no direction to the staff or doing anything. But like you said, like Carl said, that we are very fortunately to have our town staff, especially a few of them that are mentioned by Carl, that they are here. Planning and Building Director Zach Dell, Park and Rec Director Sarah Robastelli, and City Clerk Deborah Padovan. And I believe Cody is here. Is he helping us with the technical assistant or? Anyway,
Yes, I'm here. I'm in the background.
Thank you. I know you're in the background. And also, I want to say that thank you for Los Altos Hill County Fire District General Manager Jay Logan. She's very, very prompt and very helpful. You have any words to share with us before we go on to the question?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to take this opportunity just to welcome everyone and say Happy New Year to all. And I love the energy and the optimistic tones in our voice. So maybe it helps to be outside of the government function and really looking at the social interaction and the collaboration and communication we do as individuals when we're better together. But I do want to say from the perspective of the fire district, we really had the CZU fire and the consolidation events that I think could have been extremely disruptive and difficult for the district to sustain had either one of those occurred. And I want to just put my shout out and thank you to Chief Bowden and Assistant Chief Brian Glass and his whole crew for helping us with all of those events that occurred, and to again reinforce my strong commitment to them. And as the fire district moves forward, we're looking for stability and sustainability in these next 4, 5, 6 years as we work together, renew our partnerships. And I'm looking at an opportunity to work with Central Fire with operational and functional integration, which I think is so important and which will do nothing but benefit the community of Los Altos Hills and the Los Altos Hills County Fire District's jurisdiction to a great extent. So I look forward. We've got a wonderful staff that we're working with, and we embrace the town of Los Altos Hills and the city council and the town manager and staff. So thank you very much, Michelle, for those opportunities to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay Logan. I'm going to thank you so much for everyone to give us an excellent remark. I'm going to move on to the question now that was collected from our member, the club member. And some of the question probably already answered by our honored speaker, but I'm going to read it anyway. We can just have a very brief answer if the question has already been touched upon by the remarks. Okay, so there's total 10 questions. What I'm trying to do is trying to even out the time so we don't get stuck on one specific question or other questions are not having enough time. I would say average about 2 to 5 minutes. 2 minutes or 5 minutes on the per question. Now, if nobody gonna raise hand or nobody speak, I may just call out the name. Okay. The first question is, what will be the town's key mission for 2021? So this question, I believe, is more of directed at now. Please allow me to say that all these questions are directed from are provided by the club member from a town resident. So if you have any confusion, don't understand, please ask back. Say, what do you mean? Then we will try to explain.
Michelle,
the first question will be, I believe it's directed to the mayor. What will be the town's key mission for 2021?
So Michelle, to answer your question, I feel that, public safety is paramount to our town, whether it's fire prevention or crime prevention. We are committed to making sure that our residents stay safe. That is our #1 priority in this town today. We have other priorities like, conducting a town survey, looking at undergrounding as a mechanism to keep our town safe. We are looking at the recent bills and legislation coming out of Sacramento to see how they might impact our rural look and feel. We are committed to being the eyes and ears of the community and doing everything we can to make sure that the town of Los Altos Hills stays how we envisioned it to be, a rural community which is safe and which enjoys and lends to its residents the very comforts that we meant to provide for them. So our commitment would be to prevent crime and fire and do our best to keep us safe.
Absolutely, I agree. I was asked by the town crier last month when I was still mayor, and was asking what's our town's safety status, and we were ranked by some publication the top #3 safest town in California. I was very happy to hear that, and I think all of us. We are very, very fortunate to live in a town that is very safe and peaceful. Thank you, Kavita. The second question that, Kavita, you have touched upon as well in your remark is the fiscal status of the town. Can it afford fiscal status of the town? The question is, can it afford the new underground venture?
So that's a very valid point. But more importantly, it's important to understand that the town by itself is not able to fund the undergrounding in its entirety. What we are looking to do is to look at other sources of funding in this town. We are looking at possibly a utility users tax. We're looking at Rule 28 credits. We're also looking at maybe possible municipal bonds. But all of this is something we have not explored, but we're in the process of exploring. Once we decide that through with the undergrounding, that's when we will look at the different financing sources. As of now, all we are committed to doing is a test which we call the Icebreaker Project. And once the bids come back, we understand the full scale and the cost of the project, that's when we'll make a decision as to whether undergrounding makes financial sense in the context of our town. And if it does, then we will look at the different ways in which we can fund this undergrounding. So as of now, we are not at that level. We're just exploring this as a possibility, because we do know that one way of keeping our town safe is to underground our utilities.
Thank you, Kavita. Carl, do you have anything to say? Because you probably are familiar with the underground project for 20-some years.
Yes, and we've had successful undergrounding projects in the past. We've not done anything though in about a decade. Partly because we were waiting for our Rule 20A monies to replenish. We only get so much in a given year. Any big project starts with a plan, and so as the mayor points out, that's what we're working on right now. We've engaged the services of professional consultants to prepare plans both for a smaller project around the fire station, the El Monte Fire Station. If you drive down to Moody Road, El Monte, and Elena, where they all converge, it's just a gaggle of wires. And we thought that would be crazy if those poles came down and the fire trucks had difficulty getting out of the station. So that's where we are. We think that is a project we could afford and demonstrate proof of concept. And and then in the meantime, we're also in January, we're going to have a request authorization from the city council to approve a study that encompasses the entire town. Some first information we need is, well, how much is it going to cost? What would a project, town-wide cost? What would it look like? What are some of the obstacles? So that's the next step. And also that undergrounding is just going to be one leg in the stool of fire prevention. Most of the town is private property. We need the cooperation of private property owners to do their part to remove brush from their properties. And, so that's going to be both public education and doing what we can to improve our, working with the fire district and their staff and then green waste to get rid of brush and get it off-site, get it chipped up, composted, and and so on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carl. The next question we have is, are there people in Los Altos Hill who need special assistance now during COVID-19 with the groceries or prepared meals, personal care, or etc., like the need? That's the question. And also additionally, would be, or perhaps the Los Altos Sales Club can find a way to help. Has the town ever thought about that, or any idea, thoughts, Carl or Sarah?
Yes, thank you, Michelle. The Community Services Agency, based out of Mountain View, serves the town of Los Altos Hills, Los Altos, as well as Mountain View. Currently, there are 14 Los Altos Hills residents receiving services, and CSA is looking for volunteers in the following areas: drivers to deliver food to seniors, drivers to pick up donations, Mountain View Senior Center lunch pickup, and then somebody to work the pantry. All of these volunteer, I can provide maybe, Michelle, I can email you a list of a more detailed of requirements, what they're looking for each assignment, time commitments, and you can maybe distribute that to the group.
Yeah, that's awesome. See, that's the information that is really going to help people in the club to know. And I would think that we could put in the information in the Yoohoo newsletter. We have this publication every other month. Duffy has the chief editor write a Yoohoo newsletter that publish related information. I think that's an excellent idea. But Sarah, is a community service is serving the Los Altos, Mountain View, Los Altos Hill only, or are they also serving other areas?
No, Community Services Agency just serves those 3 jurisdictions. Okay.
The Los Altos Hill itself, I'm going to say that it probably does not have the appetite or the resources to host its own community servers to serve the COVID-19 emergency or disaster assistant. What I'm trying to say, this is mainly that if anybody want to help, they go to the community services in Mountain View and sign up and be part of it. Our town, ourselves, we don't have like a small entity to serve only the town resident. I just want to make this clear.
Correct. So that this agency we contract with, okay. So they are our provider for this.
Okay.
And any resident, we have sent mailers at the beginning of COVID regarding anybody who is in need, that they could phone down staff and we can put them within the proper resources. There were also, Great Plates, another program that was available through the state that was administered by the county. And we haven't had anybody actually apply for those that we're aware of. So.
Great. Thank you. This is a very helpful information. I'm going to move on to the 4th question. Will the town be more transparent in the future regarding all aspects of town business, especially development and pathway? Any takers?
Zach.
I will jump in.
Kavita first. Kavita, you raise your hand?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. So, I feel that town government is where we can have the most impact and make the changes that we really want to see in our community. And for me personally, I'm committed to transparency in all aspects of local government. I think it's the cornerstone of good government. My personal goal will be to make sure that our residents stay informed and stay engaged, because when we have informed and engaged residents, I feel as a community, we make the best decisions that serve our residents well. And in the context of development decisions, I feel that it's really important to give residents the opportunity to give their input prior to the time that we make final decisions, because that's the time we can hear their concerns and factor them into any decision making. Given that they are so close to the problems, I do think they have the best understanding of the issues and are able to shed light on what could be good possible solutions. I think giving residents the opportunity to speak before the final decisions is a key way of ensuring residents' input. Also, now that we have transitioned to virtual meetings, the planning department has done a really good job in creating web pages that are available that residents can access, and they can look at development plans and pathway documents. And this ensures that public really has access to the very information that will help them before a public meeting is held. So I think that's the best way of making sure there's accountability, making documents available to residents so that they can also see what we're doing and they can weigh in. But Zach, if you want to add something, that'd be great.
Oh, I think you covered it very well. Thank you.
That's it? Okay, no more comments? Carl, I see you're unmuted. You want to say something, or you're just unmuted by accident?
Oh, yeah, just, I'll turn that off.
No, it's okay. Just want to make sure that you have an opportunity to speak if you wish.
Okay, no, it's well covered.
Okay. The next question is that can we, it's related to, so let me read out the next question. Can we allow the Robolita / La Paloma path be accommodated horses? Or can we at least have the Horseman Association review the pathway?
Michelle, my understanding is that due to the very steep topography of the area and the width of the entire pathway easements, and the fact that there will be stairs needed at both ends of the path, opening this pathway to horses may have some challenges. However, at this point in time, town staff is looking into this question further. They will engage with the pathway community that has brought up this issue and flagged it as a concern to discuss it for any potential solutions that may allow for horses on this pathway. The town will be having the initial environmental study come back to them at the next meeting in February. And I think that would be a really good time to discuss if it makes sense to allow horses on this pathway. So that is where we are in the process. We're taking input from the community that flagged this as a problem. We want to give the horsemen in our town and residents an opportunity to weigh in, and then it will come up before the city council, and then we can have the conversation.
Great. That's very clear. So the environmental study going to come back in February, and that will be, I do believe that town resident will have an opportunity at that time, take a look at it.
Can I just break in here?
Please.
It's on the Planning Commission agenda on Thursday for a public hearing, not to make any decisions. So you don't have to wait till February in the town council. You can get to the real horses, you know what, on Thursday, day after tomorrow.
Right.
That's great. Wonderful. The next one we have is the status of RENA housing allocation, the impact on 1 acre minimum for Los Altos Hill. And I believe that Kavita, you have touching up on this subject during the your remark earlier. Would you like just to give a very brief summary?
Sure. The process of setting our housing allocation numbers is going on now as we speak. As I alluded to earlier, for this cycle, our numbers came back pretty high, and the town's allocation had us concerned. So we voiced our protest. We worked with other neighboring towns. The town wrote a letter, and in light of that, of our advocacy, our allocation numbers were reduced by almost 10%. We are still pushing and working to make sure that we do our level best, to make sure that we are allocated a number that makes sense in the context of what we're able to do. And we are working to further reduce our numbers, and we will keep you posted in terms of what the final number will be. In the meanwhile, our town planning staff is looking at different strategies and options so that we are prepared in case the numbers come out high. And we want to make sure that we do meet our numbers. So we are looking to see what we can do on our part to meet these numbers. So because we all understand and realize that keeping these numbers and meeting our requirements are critical to making sure that the town's rural character is kept intact, because that is really important to our community, and we need to make sure that we do all we can to meet our housing requirement numbers. So I think Zach is also very familiar with this. And so Zach, if you want to add anything that I've missed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, there's kind of two pieces to this. One is the RENA process, where we're continuing to monitor and take every opportunity to push back and get a more appropriate housing allocation. We've definitely got a very significantly larger number right now than we've had our past housing cycle, and there will be a couple other opportunities before our final allocation is locked in, and that'll take us into next fall before we know where that final number stands. And then, yeah, the second piece is monitoring state housing legislation and being very active in engaging, networking, teaming up with other jurisdictions and pushing back where we can to preserve our hillside rural character and our 1 acre minimum. So as is noted earlier, SB 9 is really kind of a critical piece of legislation that could have a significant impact on the town's ability to manage development. So yeah, we're continuing to monitor that, and it'll be a long spring and summer to see what path that legislation has.
Thank you, Zach. So we're gonna move on to the next question. Number 8 question, the number 7 question. What are the thoughts right now from Santa Clara County Central Fire District to on Los Altos Hill Fire District possible merger with the county fire? I believe Chief Baldwin could brief us on this one.
Can you repeat the question, Michelle?
The question is, what are your thoughts on the merger of the possible merger of the Santa Clara County Fire District with the Los Altos Hill County Fire District? This is basically the question that was derived from last year's merger, continuing to kind of monitoring the progress. So what are your thoughts? You think?
That's a tough one. I will say this. What I'm excited about is over the course of 21, how Central Fire District and Los Altos Hills County Fire District can work together in a cooperative way that addresses some of the items and the issues that were identified. I think we're stronger working together, and there are efficiencies that we have identified between the 2 fire districts that we can accomplish that do not require consolidation. And we've always had a very strong partnership for going on 25 years now between Los Altos Hills County Fire District and Central Fire District. And that has been a very successful partnership. And I believe that there are ways to continue that partnership together without consolidation efforts. And we're committed to working with Los Altos Hills County Fire District and the town of Los Altos Hills to address any concerns that the county may have.
Thank you.
And I think it's,
Mhm.
go ahead.
The related question is the upcoming LAFCO study meeting. Who will represent the town's interest in the proceeding? Okay, this question may not be Chief Bowden. Whoever can answer this,
Yeah.
please go ahead.
Yeah.
So I
So,
can answer that from Jay Logan's perspective. Thank you, Carl. The district is working very closely to follow the LAFCO study and also to follow the formation of the countywide fire study from the county. And in doing that, we're monitoring all the documents, and we just submitted today a response to LAFCO on their draft RFP. And so I have committed commissioners who are following it. I'm following it, as is the staff. And the idea is to work collaboratively with the town and make sure that our needs are being met. And I also want to echo what Chief Bowden just said in his commitment as to our partnership with County Fire, Central Fire, and the district to work together to come up with ways in which we can partner. And in so doing, what that does is it preserves local decision-making, and that better represents, I feel, the residents of Los Altos Hills and the jurisdiction of the fire district if we can retain those local decision-making while working together in a uniformed way with Central Fire and with the County of Santa Clara. And we're looking for that alignment. We're looking for that path. And I think that's what the residents would want of their government local representatives, is to be able to be successful in that path. And I really applaud everyone for helping us with that mission. So thank you.
Thank you, Jake.
Yes.
Carl, you want to say something?
yes, so to, in part, complementary to Jay's answer is that, yes, the town management team, myself, Zach, our planner, and Cody, we're very familiar with LAFCO proceedings, so we're monitoring it from that perspective. And, it's kind of an odd duck situation here where the fire district was formed a few decades prior to the town's own incorporation. And so, although, we've, I would say that residents, when they think of fire protection services, they go to their local government. Same with, police services. But here it's a little different, where the town has a much more passive role in the process on paper. I would say in practice, though, fire department's not the issue. We've always had good communications between town staff and county fire staff. Information has flowed freely when we've had incidents here in town where there have been, larger fires, house fires, a grass fire at West Wind Barn. Then just collaborating and sharing information has always worked well. There definitely seemed like a disconnect this summer with the county board of supervisors asserting their authority over the Los Altos Hills Fire District and perhaps not really understanding the relationships that exist between the town, the fire district, the fire department, the county fire district. So it's rather complex. So I'm really glad everybody took a step back. And I think it's going to be helpful for these studies. We've sent comments to LAFCO, just essentially saying we'd like a seat at the table as the town. We get that we're not formally responsible for fire protection services in Los Altos Hills, but residents have an expectation that we're going to represent their interests. So that's been our comment to LAFCO, which LAFCO stands for Local Agency Formation Commission. It's set up through California state law, and they make decisions concerning special districts, which the fire district is one of those, and they make decisions on territory. So you've heard the term annexations. We've annexed a lot of territory over the years. Most of the fire district is within town boundaries. So we really hope to be part of that process. We're optimistic that there will be a good outcome where the interests and the needs of the community are well represented.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl. Very good answer. The next question is the garbage contract. What are the rework possibilities on the garbage contract?
I guess I could answer that. We are in discussions with Green Waste at this time. We did retain the services of a professional consultant, and this consultant, all they do is garbage contract issues. And, we don't have a firm proposal at this time from Green Waste, but I think relationship is in part built on trust. Absolutely. And goodwill. So notwithstanding, issues of the contract, I think I would say this much: Green Waste understands that it's in their best interest to find some resolution with the town. Can we legally enforce something? No, but I do think we have opportunity to fix some of the more objectionable parts of the contract, especially with all the green carts and everything. But it's a little too early to give any. I'd rather under promise and over deliver. So I can't promise anything specific at this point, but we are working on it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Carl. The next question we have is new chipping program. This is direct to the fire district probably. The new chipping program is too cumbersome and time consuming. It requires the pile of brush to be on public view for an extended period. Is there a plan to streamline the process?
I would be glad to speak to that. Michelle?
Go ahead, Jay.
Yes, thank you. So residents have probably noticed that the district has altered the now called defensible space brush chipping and debris removal program. And in so doing, we've opened the opportunity of contractors who do the chipping to go through a bidding process and then chip the brush. In so doing, we're using best practices of local government and best practices of the power of public bidding to be able to get the best results for the chipping services. In doing so, we're working with Fire Safe Council, Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council, a wonderful partner and experts in chipping schedules and chipping programs. And we went through a pilot phase. And what we're doing now is between when the resident stacks the brush for chipping and it actually being chipped, there's a bidding process in there. That took a little more time. We're aware of that. And I am meeting with the team that does that process to try to roll back the amount of time between the actual stacking of the brush and the chipping of the brush. We're going to use some new technology. We have the metrics now that are going to help us in being able to project what the chipping should be, and then hopefully that will alter some of the weekly chipping time to do the bidding. So that's kind of that's a long response, but we are trying to bring those timelines down, understanding that. So those are my comments. I have some team members on the phone here. Captain Gluhan, if you're there, I know that chipping is what you live every week. Do you want to make some comments there also? Fire Captain Denise Gluhan. She's our emergency services manager.
Hi,
Yes,
Jay. Thank you. Madam Mayor, thank you. Yeah, and again, we have to understand that we want to have fairness in the process. We want to have the open competitive bidding to allow a process to have vendors come in, and also it allows vendors to get to know Los Altos Hills. So it allows for more competitive and more opportunities to have private residents have work done on their property. We have been talking about the importance of vegetation management, and getting more opportunities to have good pricing is a benefit for the residents, in addition to getting a competitive pricing for the district and using the taxpayers' dollars for this chipping program. So I think it's a real benefit to allow this process. We did not use this type of process in the past. So yes, it was a little more streamlined. It has become a little bit bulkier because we have to develop this metric to measure chipping, which is what we've been doing since last April. So once we get that data, we can start to manipulate how we can do the process and possibly make it more streamlined. You can get on our website, we have calendars so that the planning can be done by the resident to wait if they're having a contractor do their work, to set it up so that it's done just prior to the day it's due. Most of those dates close on a Sunday, so that work can be done the week prior, and it's only setting out on the road of the week of the chipping. So with some organization and some patience, I think we can make this process much more streamlined. Thank you for your time. Thanks.
that's awesome. I'm glad that you are working on this is a pilot project. Okay, I see someone raise a hand. Let me see. The program here is that Linda, if you just want to hold on, just give me a couple minutes and we'll come to you. So thank you so much. This is the end of the questions that we prepared. And thank you all the members very much for your excellent questions. I'm sure it has pushed some buttons. And thank you so much for your guests, all the guest speakers, informative answers and inside perspectives and the expert knowledge. And this is definitely help everyone to better understand the towns and the fire district current status and operations. Now I'm going to open to the public for more questions or comments. And I see that Linda, you already raised your hand.
Yes.
I cannot see everybody because we have like the 40 attendees. So please, if you can do a raise hand in the virtual panel, I will be able to call your name. Or if you just go ahead to speak up, and that's fine too. Go ahead, Linda.
Well, I had a question about the brush chipping because I got my form and it sounded like this time, unlike other times, only certain zones were eligible. So are you going to rotate through all the zones, or exactly how is that going to work now?
I can speak to that, and Denise, please chime in if you would like. The chipping is done in 6 areas, each area a month, and then at the end of the 6 months, which is July, then we start from area 1 again, and that's done for efficiency and effectiveness, so we can have the chipping done in a particular zone, and that has been in place, I believe, since the inception of the chipping program, if that's responsive to your question.
Okay, maybe I just didn't know that you're only doing zones, because before I never got a card if it wasn't my zone. But this time I got one saying, if you're in this zone, respond. But I wasn't in that zone, so I didn't know, when my turn would come or how it's going to be working this time.
Well, that's great. Linda, that's evidence. We are also spiffing up our mailing lists. And we've brought in some new GIS technology, and that's helping us. And so maybe we're reaching people with the mailing packets for each area every month that we weren't reaching before. And that's good news if that's the case. But it's a very thorough packet. We've added some flyers into it to help the resident understand how to stack the chipping. We also had to put in some COVID notices because our contractors are under advisement right now from their employers as essential workers. They cannot communicate with the resident. They cannot, so any resident information has to go through a phone system, email, back to the contractor. So we have various restrictions now that we just didn't have before because of COVID-19. But thank you for that reflection, Linda. That's really helpful to us. Thank you.
Jay, just one quick comment, and for Linda, also on the website, you can click on the opening page of the lahcfd.org website. You can click on information about chipping. It has a zone map we are working to upgrade that, make it a little more interactive with this new GIS program that we're launching. See when your zone is due again, it's twice a year, 6 months apart. So that might be helpful also in your process. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anyone else have any comments or questions? Please speak up. Going
Sure,
once.
Michelle, regarding the undergrounding, I know the main
I know it's, can you say your name at
oh yeah, Ed Taft.
Okay.
Ed Taft, I'm with Pamela. With regard to the undergrounding, the main impetus is fire safety for the power lines, but there's also the opportunity that I'm sure has been discussed about undergrounding the other utilities, and in particular installing underground fiber for better internet service. And I wonder if that's sort of part of the planning process.
Absolutely, Ed. We're looking into the Dig One policy to underground anything at this point.
Yes, and I was chipping for a sentence that absolutely, when you do underground, you do what Dig One's policy, you want to underground all of the things on the pool. When you pull that pole, there's a lot of wire right now. If you look, the highest line on the very top is the power line. You can't just say put the power line and leave the rest still hanging. So they have to go down. So I would assume that we would want to also put the fire, the cable, the cable, the fiber cable, the bigger conduit along. Even we don't put the cable line right away, we should still put a conduit for the future use.
Right. And Ed, that also, I think, the idea is future proofing to the best of our abilities, which would be, yes, when we go to the expense of undergrounding utilities, reserving essentially real estate below ground for fiber optic cable, to be pulled through at a latter date. So it would be existing utilities, and then the design should include then space for any future broadband, and likely that would be fiber optic cable.
Thank you, Carl. Any questions? Any more questions?
Yeah, I had a further comment on undergrounding. We've been concentrating so far on the safety aspect and maybe the visual, but there's another danger lurking, which I think we should take an eye on. At certain points in the town, the bundle of cables crosses the road at a very low altitude. I can think of one on Page Mill Road, and all it takes is for one truck with something sticking out of the top to go down the road there, and they're going to pull down suddenly every telephone cable and probably some power cables as well. They've hung some red flags on this cable to warn large trucks, but I haven't heard anybody bring up that danger. That needs to be fixed just as a reliability kind of thing. I mean, it would bring down the telephone service for a large proportion of the town if that particular cable came down. I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you, Yotze.
Yitzi, do you have the cross street for that?
Yeah, it's where Page Mill Road, as you're going up Page Mill Road, it curves to the right, just beyond Three Forks.
Okay. Okay, because we can reach out to AT&T and Comcast, or those are the likely utilities involved, and bring it to their attention and ask them to repair it. I can only say the only thing that moves slower than government is our public utilities, but we absolutely will reach out to them and ask them to bring it to their attention
I think the
this needs
problem
repair.
is that the power poles go up one side of the road up to a point, and the power poles go on the other side of the road. So all the cabling has to cross the road, and that's a problem.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I'm going to, before I end the meeting, I would like to thank Duffy, the anchor of Los Altos Hill Club, who has pulled all the strings together to make this event happen. And her husband, John, who is also the former mayor. Yes. John, who is also a former mayor, her husband tirelessly and patiently sitting behind the screen, did all the work, making the meeting run smoothly. They are the best support that I can ever hope for to run this meeting. Duffy, would you like to make some comments? We're about to end the meeting.
Yes, I would just say thank you all very much. Can I tell you that I think when we replay this in the recording, this has probably been one of the best ones we've had. It's really been outstanding. All the contributions have been right on target and really answered a bundle of questions and issues that the club had. And if there's anybody that has anything else, for example, the CSA discussion with Sarah was absolutely wonderful. And I'm sure will stimulate a lot of our membership, and I will include it in the next YooHoo newsletter. But it's very important that we take care of our residents. And I was surprised there's 14, Sarah. That was really interesting to me, because 10 years ago, we tried to find out who needed what in our community. And so hearing that today is very reassuring that it's only 14, but in fact, that's something that we can do to fix it. So thank you, and appreciate all of your contributions today and for participating. Kavita's been wonderful. Thank you, Kavita, for going over every piece of the information that you provided. I just made notes on everything that will be included. And I want to thank Tony for his efforts also. I hope he's still aboard, but with his little mask on at the mobile station, but he's wonderful to do this today. And Carl, thank you again. And I'm Zach, we didn't get you enough to say enough that I wanted to hear all about this RENA stuff, but you're doing a great job. Yeah, it's great. And Deborah, again, thank you, wonderful. Thank you for the team for coming together today. And if I've left anybody out.
I hear some background noise.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I do too. I don't know what's going on. Yes, John, is that you?
Just wanted to thank Michelle also and point out that we did record this so that people with hearing impairment will be able to see it with subtitles. Thank you much.
Okay, that's awesome.